All right, take two on this entire video.
Pedals forgot to hit start recording, and we did a very, very funny, iconic 15 minutes of Race to World First recap. So today we're going to talk about how the splits have been going so far, what's going to be happening up next, and there were a couple of really funny jokes I'm going to try and work in again, but it might be a little bit less organic than when we made them the first time around, when Teddles, again, did not hit start recording.
Okay, so in other news as to what we've been seeing today in the Race to World First, I'm having deja vu. I think I've been here before. We're going to be talking about split pacing. So we talked a little bit yesterday or a couple days ago about how so many slots are locked down with Reshi wraps, with embellishments, with Demon Hunter boots, the Delve Bell. A bunch of slots are just like difficult to replace in general. And
we've actually, like, you know what's going to go into them, right? Like,
exactly.
You know that you
have four pieces here,
right? Your tier pieces are locked in, and then there's very few slots left for your crafted pieces to go, so those might slot into just the two remaining slots. And then the Demon Hunter boots are on, your trinkets are locked in, and all of a sudden there's nothing else that you need.
And there's no very rare items as well. So then you're able to cut down on the required amount of characters that are needed to do the splits. And so what we've actually started to see is something interesting happening with Nexus King Salvador, where there's been a decision point that's been made by different Race to World First guilds depending on what they want to have happen.
Yeah, so Echo has been successfully helper splitting Nexus King Salvador, right? They've been killing it with half raiders, half helpers, whereas Liquid have decided that that's not even something that's necessary for them.
Do you know what the ratio of like wipes to successful kills is for? Like,
I don't know, although I watched one pull that was a kill pull from them, and it looked very clean. But I don't know how many wipes there has been. So, how clean the kill pull looks doesn't necessarily tell you much about that, but it seems like they're not encountering too much resistance. Heroic Dimensius also, Liquid have done a test run of. They didn't kill it. They got it to like really low, and then they wiped intentionally to avoid getting saved to it. But that also looks very killable and potentially very helper splittable, as well as helper split power goes up, which isn't always true. Back to some previous years, there often have been end bosses that haven't been possible to split with helpers. If you go back to like a Mirdrasil, like Fireack, I don't think you were splitting with helpers that first week. It was just you had the guild only condense in, and you were doing guild Fireack.
Was Mugsy done as full raiders last year?
I think it was like 5 helpers, 25 raiders or something. Were doing Mugsies and Gallywixes for Liquid. I know Liquid have had like a helper healer that isn't technically a guildie that was in on all their Gallywixes, but I think that was maybe their only helper on galleys. But either way, this time around, it seems like when we get to Dimensius, those might be parallelizable, right? You might be able to run 2 Dimensius at a time, which means you could potentially get it done in half the time as, previous Answerek day of a bunch of Answereks.
So, we're still in a situation where there might be fewer splits than there were last year, because we had a historically long amount of splits last year.
Right.
Vexie and the Gear Grinders went down at like 9 p.m. on Friday Pacific. The raid opened at like noon PST or something like that on Tuesday. So it was days and days and days worth of splits. And it seems like we're pacing to be, done a little bit earlier than that by all of the Race World First contending guilds. Probably not a lot.
Yeah.
Faster though.
Got to be careful, because this might be copium from us. Those signs
would cope. We would always cope.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that actually comes true or not, if they are, because there's always more splits that people find, and it's especially if you're listening to like Max's stream, he's always on team let's get into Mythic, right? And he's always like excited to do that, and then the analysts tell him, nope, you have another 2 splits to do or whatever. These have to happen.
Now, there is a different problem that we have this season, where whenever you see the site that says what's next, so what's next is kind of an interesting thing, because now we have hard mode Mythic 0 Tazaveshes that have to be done as well to be able to get Myth track level gear. And that largely is going to be done before guilds enter Mythic Raid, because those pieces are completely random. It would make a decision different on where your master looting piece is if you got master looted some piece off of even like Plexus Sentinel or Lumathar, and then you got like a chest piece from Tazavesh box, random Tazavesh box. You would feel very foolish.
That would be an inefficiency that Race to World First guilds are looking to minimize. For a lot of players, like if you're in a high-end guild, another high-end guild that's not a Race to World First guild, you instead want to maximize your chance of succeeding the hard mode Tazavesh.
Sure,
but
yes.
Race to World First guild probably already have that as high as it's going to get, right? An extra killing Lumathar Mythic is not going to give them the gear that's going to change that, right? They've already practiced it. So for them, it's going to make more sense to just go in before Mythic to lock down which myth piece loot you're getting out of it. And then obviously there's always still a chance of failure. It's a volatile dungeon. There are one-shots, like even it's not 100% success rate for anybody, but they probably already have it pretty high and not at the level where half an extra eye level from a few mythic bosses is going to change much.
Yeah, what's the crest situation looking like? So, I mean, we have less heroic
so
crest this season, right?
last tier there was a weird quirk where Runed Crest cap started on the pre-raid week. That hasn't happened this time, which means players only have 90 runes this week, and you need 195 to upgrade all of your items, which you can get, minus 15 from that requirement for each Hero 4 piece that you get from Heroic Salhadar, from Heroic Dimensius, and then, of course, any Myth Track piece you're getting is also taking away 15 from that 195 total that you need to be done with Runed Crest.
Yeah.
But even the Race World First Guilds are probably not going to take that all the way from 195 down to the 90 that they have this week. And so I think that means we're probably going to see players with, still sitting at like 701 in some off slots, some rings and stuff. They're not gonna actually have all the Rune Crest to upgrade those.
I guess a better question is like, what item level are we even going to see? Because there's kind of this interesting. I mean, we're going to talk about this in a second in regards to like what's up with Plexus Sentinel, but I mean, the 4 set is obviously super impactful.
Yeah.
Like, what is the average item level for these Race World First Guilds going to be? Like 700, maybe?
I think Liquid and Echo and Method are probably going to enter the raid and fight Plexus Sentinel at roughly 700 with 4 piece on everybody. And they'll be sitting on the resources to go up to 705 whenever they want
like you don't spend any
they're not going to spend any Gilded Crests, and they may even keep some Runed Crests in the tank on some characters that have nothing great to use them on and are waiting for something good to use them on.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, but like at the same time, that could be kind of low. So we've seen some guilds finally. 2 guilds have killed Plexus Sentinel, including my guild, World Second. This is
congratulations.
This is great for me. Plexus Sentinel, we killed it at 693.5, with I would say 70% of our guild having 4 set.
Right.
The damage check was like non-trivial.
How many pulls was that?
10.
Yeah, okay. So I think that boss is going to go from 10 pulls for a good guild at 693 with most 4 pieces to 1 pull for the Race World First Guild.
Yeah.
10 eye levels up, PTR tested up, and also 4 pieces on everybody.
Stamina was like actually surprisingly valuable stat on this boss too. We were getting like one shot by the tank bomb and the group soaks.
Interesting.
It makes me wonder like what are the future bosses going to be looking like? Like can you project into the future with just how hard Plexus Sentinel was? But at the same time, Rick Reaver week 1 last season was almost unkillable, even by most Hall of Fame level guilds, but it was still 6 shot by Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 693, that's the equivalent of doing Vexie at what, 640? 645 without 4 piece on everybody. So I guess that would have probably been easier than this. Like that boss didn't really pose a check of any kind on you except for the mechanics check of
we hit the enrage a couple times on this boss.
Yeah, so Plexus Sentinel, it's probably a little more tightly tuned than Vexie for the same gear level, but I think it's going to be pretty similar where like once you actually have this tier's gear in reasonable amounts, it's going to fall over, right? It's just guilds that have been pulling it today and yesterday have been doing it early. They've been doing it before collecting this tier's gear. And this tier's gear represents a bigger jump from last tier's gear than before because the set bonuses are a huge percentage, right? Last year, going from Narrowbar 4-piece to Liberation 4-piece, you're talking about like 15% DPS gains at best on people. This time around, I think it's double that in some cases for some of these specs.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm really interested in seeing what the curve looks like. How is Blizzard realistically going to tune this raid to? A lot of people were speculating that, since the last raid of the expansion, Blizzard's going to maybe tune it a little bit harder. We also have randomly had this footnote about Turbo Boost gear at the bottom of the Legion Mix post.
That's coming. Hopefully not relevant for Race World First, but it's coming.
Double Legendary wasn't relevant for the Race World First, that one tier either.
It was, yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, it's kind of interesting to see how Blizzard is going to expect the tuning on this raid to go. Race World First normally isn't a factor in that, though. They kind of they try to make the curve as linear as possible. Normally are okay about it.
There's been some outlier, like last year I think had some overtuned mid-tier bosses and potentially undertuned, especially last boss for the race. Of course, regular cutting edge guilds might experience a different curve than the Race World First guilds do as well. They might find the difficulty in different places. And something that's really important for a regular cutting edge guild isn't so much what the Race World First tuning is, it's how quickly and how much Blizzard decides to nerf these bosses. So you got to keep that in mind. When we talk about bosses being iconically great Race to World First tuning. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have great
Ansurek, great
Hall of Fame tuning.
Ansurek, great Race to World First boss.
Insufficiently nerfed and not quickly enough. The nerfs were too little and too slow on that boss for most guilds.
Every other guild, maybe not the best boss of all time.
Yeah, exactly. So got to kind of divorce those two concepts in your head. But after last year, I feel like Blizzard would want a harder and more climactic end boss than Galliwix ended up being for the Race to World First. But the thing is, what Blizzard wants the tuning to look like and how it actually looks, they're much more able to achieve that with the live balance for Hall of Fame and cutting edge guilds than they are for the Race to World First. The Race to World First, Blizzard can miss much more wildly in either direction because there's less data that they have before designing that tuning.
So, in other news about what's next, I'm kind of expecting them to be in Mythic, maybe like noonish Friday, which again, they pulled Vexie and the Gear Grinders at 9 p.m. on Friday. I kind of expect them to cut. I kind of expect some splits to be cut from all of the Race to World First contenders, mostly due to the fact that very rares don't exist. So the odds of you getting a God run are less required. There's no Kazan, there's no Jaster Diamond, there's none of these House of Cards like random chase items. It's just a kind of normal gear. So I think in theory, maybe like Friday noon is my prediction. What are you kind of feeling?
Yeah, I mean, there's Hard Mode Tazavesh, which presumably they'll take kind of slow and steady. And then there's some amount of M+ that's going to need to get done. Not a whole lot of other...
There's like Dimensius Heroics?
Yeah, they have a lot of Dimensius Heroics still to do. And then presumably there's still some normal and heroic splits that still need to happen, although I don't know for sure how many of those are left. So I'm hopeful for early Friday as well.
No, he's banned.
Don't ban me.
He's banned.
I'm optimistic for early Friday as well, but I'm coining a new law, Dratnos' law, which says splits always last longer than you think they will. I coined that actually the last time when you forgot to start recording, but I'm recoining it for the first time for people to hear it. Because splits always take longer than your guesses. So keeping that in mind, we'll go Friday afternoon.
We're always serial copers too. Soon.
Yeah,
soon they're going to be.
We want you to tune into the race stream. We don't want people to know that they don't have to tune in for a day.
Well, they don't have to tune in for 4 days.
Yeah, make sure you watch the stream, by the way.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
We'll see you tomorrow for another thrilling Race to World First recap where try and see what we come up with for these 3 boxes. It's going to be a challenge.
I have a call to action for you, any of you guys who have made it this far in the video. If you guys take to Twitter, and if you could tweet at Taco Bell on our behalf, and get us a sponsorship with Taco Bell, even if it's like, they send us food every single night, and we'll promote it on these YouTube videos, that would be fantastic. So yeah, you got to make sure you're doing your part here. We need to live Moss.
Not necessarily the smartest decision if you're Taco Bell, because we're promoting you for free anyway. So sort of like the Race to World First. If you're Blizzard, would you want to?
It's kind of what we were talking about over there.
Would you want to pay to sponsor the Race to World First when people are doing it for free? Would you want to pay us to promote Taco Bell when we're already doing it for free?
Live outside the bun. Live Moss.